Good evening, everyone. This is your host, Ryan Underwoods, and I would like to welcome you to the Cryptid Chronicles. I'd like to welcome you all tonight and say I really am appreciative of you guys coming tonight, and anyone that is watching at a later date, super appreciative of you as well. Do want to inform you guys real quick, there are some technical difficulties happening on my end tonight, so if anything were to occur to this live stream, I want to let you guys know ahead of time. We're going live. There's always that kind of issue with technical difficulties, and if anything were to occur, we will try to take care of it. But I just want to let you guys know now. And real quick, I know a couple episodes ago we set a goal of trying to reach 100 subscribers by August, by end of August, and let me say, you guys are already really kicking booty there. We already got 96 subscribers right now, and it's already middle of August, well, early August. So, how I say is, you guys share this out. Go share this on social medias. Go talk to your friends. Anyone that's interested in cryptids or weird stuff, let them know about this podcast. But real quick, we do have a guest on tonight, Anita Collier. She's a good friend of mine. I met her a while ago at Jeff's conference here in Texas, and she has some Bigfoot encounters herself, and she's a great person because she's a real hard worker because she was able to put on a whole conference herself. She had the first annual Alabama Bigfoot Conference last June. I was a vendor there. Let me say it was a great event. But before I butcher that event, let me make sure I bring Anita on and she can introduce herself to you guys.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, Anita. You're one person I really want to have on the show because honestly, I can really admire your work because that conference last month, a couple months ago, was great. And especially for the first annual conference, great event, had some great people. I know you've had a couple encounters yourself, so introduce yourself to everyone at home.
Well, I'm the administrator of the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. It was our first last year. Uh, I'm a nurse, I'm a hospice nurse. So now I've switched to the night shift. So I am the night nurse now. So who knows what spooky things and what wonderful things I'll see and what Bigfoot I'll encounter running across the road, I hope, going to see patients. But I'm from Alabama. Always really have been, lived in Georgia just a little bit, but mostly from Alabama. Still came full circle back home. So have a few little projects in the works and still going working on next year's conference. And that's me.
Yep, yep. And you're a great person to meet, great person to talk to. I know that you're a good friend of Tex and all them at the Trinity Pair Cryptid, and that's one way I was able to really meet you and talk to you because Tex was like, "Yeah, this is Nina Collier. She's doing this conference," and I was like, "Hey, let me talk to her." And I love to get you on the show. I knew it took a little while, but I had got you on the show now, so I love having you on. And honestly, and I know Bigfoot, it's kind of a really niche subject. So with it, like, what really got you into the subject and into the world of cryptids?
My interest really came in 1979. In 1979, I was up on Mount Keehall, which is the highest point in Alabama, with a date. And we were out just sunning on the rock formation out there called Bald Rock. A lot of people from Alabama, if you're listening from Alabama, you'll probably know that point. But and like any guy, he kind of like pushed me back on the rock, like I'm gonna get a kiss. And when he did, we started getting kind of little pebbles thrown at us and pine cones. And I I said, "Whoa, whoa, what is that? You know, what's?" And we thought, well, maybe they're just coming down from the other rocks that were up ahead, up at our head. And we looked around. Nobody was out there. It was in the middle of the week, and at that time, you had to hike 2 miles to get out there. It was rustic. Now it's got walkways going out. But he said, "Well, I guess nobody's out here," so nobody answered, and there was nobody out there in the middle of the week. So he tried that again, and uh, a little bit bigger stones were being thrown. Not anything huge, but just bigger stones and twigs. And we got off the rock at that time. Set up, got off the rock, slid down onto the bank, which was about a 25, 30-foot drop off. And we looked out in the field, and there it was. It was a probably, and I know a little bit more now, but it was the size of it probably was about 5 or 6 feet tall. Maybe it was a little juvenile or something, and brown. Um, and a lot of things come back to mind now that, I had been reflecting on it over the last 3 years. Um, but it was, I was scared now, tell you the truth. And this guy was a reporter from a local radio station. So he was not scared of anything mostly. And he said, no, I want to see it. I'm saying, let's go, let's go. But it just turned around and walked away after it looked at us it was probably maybe 30 to 40 feet out off the drop there. And what I'm thinking is we smelled some dead stuff coming to the site. And we commented, I remember us commenting on, oh, I forgot the wood stunk like this, and it was like decay. And so something rotten decaying. And I'm sure this thing was probably on the bank and probably got down before we got there, because it knew we were coming out to that area. I mean, you can tell which way someone's going.
Yeah.
And that's why it smells so bad. And that's why we saw it. Shortly after that, it was curious. And excuse me, I had been to the Michigan conference in Ann Arbor. It was a year ago, July. And someone brought up a good point that maybe this creature was trying to protect me from him, from the boy or from the guy. And I promised the guy would not tell anybody that we saw it. But he passed away about 3 years ago. And I said, this is crazy. I need to tell what I saw that day. And I need to let people know that I've seen this. Because, if I see something, I'm not afraid to tell somebody. And so I started telling my story about 3 years ago, maybe a little more than that. And after he passed away, and I'm not going to tell his name. I'll never tell his name out of respect. But since then, I have had actually 2 other sightings. One was on the way down a highway where there's mountains. You pass through mountains and woods, and it peeked out from behind a rock. Just leaned out from behind a rock, and I saw it. And did I see what I thought I saw? And I'm sure I did now, because the area that we went to the other day, that's supposed to have a Bigfoot family, was where I had seen it before. And the other sighting was out in a field on a nursing route on the way to emergency to a patient. So people can say, oh, I don't know if they're real, or anything like that. But I know they are, because I know what I saw.
Yeah. Because that's the thing with Bigfoot, especially with researchers, they always talk about oh, it's misidentification and all that. Well, no, people
No.
like you, when you see one, you know what you're seeing. Because I love when people say, well, it's a bear or something like that. It's like, no,
No.
totally different feeling and totally different thing to see. Like, you don't have the muzzle, you don't have the ears on top of the head and all that. And with it, like with your first sighting, that idea of it protecting you, that's a really good observation, because I know, especially with some Native American stories, I stories of Bigfoot like trailing behind women almost as a protecting way. And of course, there's stories of them kidnapping, but there's also stories of them
There,
protecting.
that brings up a story. I didn't know I had a family legacy of Bigfoot.
Hmm.
My granddad used to tell us stories when we were kids about the hairy man. they lived on the side of this mountain before it all became mostly government property and national park, state park. But he said that the kids used to play out all day. Of course, that's all you had to do then. You didn't have computers and cell phones and games and such.
Yeah.
And they would play out all day. And he said sometimes at night, this hairy figure looked like a big hairy ape man would come out at dark if they stayed out too late and go, and scare them home. And I'm thinking, I think it was I may be giving too much credit to Bigfoot. I don't know. We don't know enough about them to know, but
Yeah.
I think it was protecting these kids and saying, kind of saying, you guys need to go home because there are bears and panthers and mountain lions and bobcats and stuff in the woods. And there's far up in that direction and on any mountain. And I think maybe it was trying to protect them and scare them home.
Which that is a possibility because, like, there are plenty of stories of Sasquatch, of course, being violent towards people, but there's also a lot of signs of them saving people or guiding people home or just being a protector, which has a possibility for like children, especially. And like especially in like Alabama, you have stories of like hairy man or like
Mm-hmm.
wood boogers or like there's a booger out there and things like that because all these like little regional names.
Well, I didn't even think about all this story and all because we didn't even know what Bigfoot was then. I was a kid and I'm past the age of 40. We won't say how long, but I was a kid then. And he said that, they called him the hairy man. Well, my mother asked me how when I got home from Michigan, she said, "How did it go? What did they do at a conference? And what did you do? And who did you meet? And all that." In the middle of that, telling her about it, she said, "Do you remember your papa, which was granddad, used to tell you the stories of the hairy man?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And she said, "That was Bigfoot. Think about it." And I said, "Ah, of course." I just never thought about it, until now that it was. And so it has encouraged me to start writing my stories down of my encounters or my sightings, my angel encounters, my paranormal encounters, and those of my family that have been told and passed down through the years too. So I'm really excited about starting to write again and doing the things that we're doing to try to promote the research that is going on about Bigfoot. To me, it doesn't matter if we ever find out exactly what it is. The mystery is exciting. The mystery is interesting. I find the research interesting with people like Dr. Jeff Meldrum, with Ken Gerhard, those at Cliff Barrettman, those people that are really, doing the research. I think they're great. I think it's great that they're doing it and they've got, that backing to do it because it's fantastic to read about it and what they discover.
Yes, and like that's like one thing that I love having someone like you on because everyone always talks about the researchers and the people that have eyewitness accounts, but not a lot of people talk about like the conferences, the people that put on these conferences and these
Yeah.
conventions. Because to me, that's as important as the research because it's about that sharing of information. Like when you go to a conference, how many people do you meet that have eyewitness accounts or have research and that
Sure.
sharing of information, and that's very important in this field.
This is just your neighbor or the person that lives down the road or the person that lives in the next county. Uh, as I was on my nursing route in the daytime when I was working days, I had a rural route. I had two, and I covered three counties, and uh, there were a lot of those people, the caregivers and the patients, who said, "Oh," they saw the back of my phone, which is a Bigfoot cover, and they said, "Oh, you like Bigfoot? Well, we've heard him around here, or we've heard them, or we've seen them, or we've seen evidence of." And I'm thinking, and that got me thinking, too, dang, dang, we need to have a conference here because there are a lot of people here that are interested. And so a lot of people, and to me, the reward was I was so scared it was not going to be successful because it was the first one. And I was so overwhelmed with the work, but people said, I'm coming again next year. Are you having one? And I said, sure we are. And two, I went to Gatlinburg conference just recently in
Yeah.
the and it was good. A lot of people, about 2,000 plus, and we don't have that, but that's fine because we keep it on a simple uh, state local level. But I saw several people there that had on my T-shirt from our conference.
Oh
And
wow.
I show you right here. It's our T-shirt. Yay!
Yeah.
And also said, Anita, hey, I was at your conference, and I remembered them, and they'd say, I'd say, you coming next year? And they said, sure we are, and we're going to tell everybody about it. So getting the word out will be important. It'll be, I think it's June the 9th and 10th. The 9th will be a Friday night with a meet and greet at a local restaurant. That was good last year. It was so down to earth, and people got to talk one on one with Cliff and Ken and those that were there, and Charlie Raymond and his wife, and
Yeah.
it was exciting. And the Texas guys too, man, they just had me in stitches half the time. But and all those people, and Melissa Adair was there. And we had a blast, and we had some local guys who knew just as much as these guys did because they've been in the dirt, so to speak, researching. Uh, James Hudson and Paul Halsey, and they were great too. And I like to give the guys who are local who don't get any credit. I like to give them credit too. It's very important to do that. But just one on one, and then Saturday we had the full conference, which we're going to have next year, and we'll have plenty of vendors. The vendors were great. You guys were great. You were one of the vendors, and man, there was some good stuff out there. I wish I'd have had like $500 I could have spent. I would have loved to. That would have been great. I didn't have time to do anything. I even forgot to take pictures of my talent that was there.
Ooh.
I was so busy. But next year, so far we've got Adam Davies, who is wow. He's internationally known.
Yeah.
Monster Quest and Josh Gates on Expedition Unknown or whatever it is, and um, we've got him coming. He's just so fun to watch and to listen to all his stories, and also Steve Coles from New York, and he's great to listen to as well. We've got 3 guys from Florida. I had Ryan Golembiski. He's going to be our MC. And I heard him up in the Smokies, and he was terrific. I was so impressed. And I said, ooh, I'm glad I already got him. But Connor Flynn from Florida, they're more involved with the skunk ape from Florida. And then Stacy Brown called, and we're gonna have him too. So and then possibly we might have another. We're working on it. We need some sponsors. If you're a business and you want to help sponsor one of our speakers, it would be terrific because it really helps. I'm limited, as anybody would be with funds, and we need business and person sponsorship. If someone wants to sponsor one of our speakers, we would be glad to. And I am on Messenger. I am on Facebook, so you can get in touch with me there. But it's going to be fun. We're going to start. We're going to do vendors, and we're going to have a bag lunch prepared by a local restaurant, and then we'll probably end it around 6:30 or so that evening, and let everybody go eat dinner on their own. We learned a lot of things from the last one. And learned about keeping it tight and slick and have a good presentation. And then we'll have lots of people who are really sharp and have podcasts and things like that, like yourself. I know you'll be there because you are so sharp and everything. It's going to be really good. We're working on pulling it all together and getting some sponsorship. And I think it'll be terrific this year. I'm excited about it. I have met Adam and I've met Steve and I've met all these guys that I've talked about, and I think they're good, wonderful people, and I just think they're good speakers, and they've done such good research on everything that it's going to be something different. Everybody that's coming is a little bit different from each other.
Yeah, because it's like that's like one thing I love with conferences, especially yours last year, because you can tell everyone has like almost like a specialty.
Yeah.
Some people might know a little bit more about maybe Bigfoot prints. Some might know a little bit more about the history. Some might know a little bit more about maybe like especially like local Alabama stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like especially like with Adam Davies, I know he does a lot of research into Ring Pendek and Yeti. I mean that's like
Yeti and Yowie and all the creatures that are Bigfoot like creatures all over the world. He's done a lot of different ones. I loved hearing him talk about his living among the natives and things like that. And he's got some funny stories too that just I was in stitches by the time he got through. So he's really a fun guy to be around too. And you want to meet and greet him for sure.
Yeah. Because I know I haven't not met Adam before. I've talked to him like on Messenger a couple times. But I really want to try. I'm really excited to meet him up in Jefferson this year, up in Jefferson, Texas, that conference in October. I know he's speaking there. I know also is Ken Gerhard, Lauren Coleman.
Now, are you going to be in Jefferson?
Yes, I'm going to be a vendor there this year.
There too, so we can talk more there. But I'm looking forward to seeing Adam again there, and Lauren Coleman's going to be there too. Oh yeah. Wow, never met him.
Yeah, that's going to be one guy I always say to meet him because he's one of the grandfathers of cryptozoology. He's been in this work since the '60s.
My dream would be to interview Bob Gimlin, but next best thing, Lauren Coleman, and so I think I'm gonna try to get an interview with him. I love these guys that have set the way and made the way for us beginning researchers. And I'm just a beginner. I'm just starting my first real project. I've been out watching before, but I'm just starting the real project now. And the research will be over a year. We've got a project we're studying for, and my organization is Southern Sasquatch Sisters. And we are starting this project where we're studying a family of Bigfoot over a year. I think it'll be interesting to try to see if they migrate somewhere else during any of the months, what kind of foods they like, what kind of interaction they like. The first day I went out was Friday. Well, it was a beautiful day. Okay. And Lanita and I went out and we had a picnic. That's the lady that's helping me. And that's the property that she has permission to be on. Nobody else has permission. That's why I can't tell you where it is, but it's in Alabama. It's in East Central Alabama. That's all I can say. But we went out and had a picnic. And we heard, when we first got out of the car, it was a thrill. I heard wood knocks. And I said, she said, "There's wood knocks." I said, "Yeah, I heard, So that was kind of cool because they were letting the others know that we were thankful.
Yeah.
And we went on down the path and went out and sat on a log and had a picnic. And we heard whistles. We heard a couple of whoops. And on the way out down the path, when we almost got to our car, two pebbles came rolling down the hill at us in front of us. And she said she's been studying this family off and on for about 15 years. And she said that's them telling us goodbye and telling us that we were welcome back. And I said, well, I hope so, because I want to do this year. And I'm excited about that because I want to know what the patterns are that we find. I want to know how they interact with us, and I would love to see one if they'll come out, if they ever come out. But she's seen their babies. I mean, like their
Oh wow.
children peeking out from behind trees.
Oh wow. Because pretty much what you're talking about is like I know they call it like a habituation site, like somewhere we can go and like watch their behavior for over a while.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that. That's this. I want to see if they leave anytime during the year. I want to be there every. I can do it every other month because I'm 7 on, 7 off with my job, and
Yeah.
every other. I mean, every other week, and so we'll go out every other week if the weather permits, and it'll be something we'll record and journal what we're doing and try to get as much video and stuff as possible, and then we're going to do a presentation with it one day. I don't know where or anything like that, but we're going to pull it together into a presentation.
I know some audio was messing up. Do you want?
Do what now?
Okay, I know. Well, audio is just messing up a wee bit on your side, but I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay.
We're hoping we can get a presentation pulled together in the next year, just shortly after that year is up.
Okay. And that's really great because studies like that is what I really want to look for in this field because it really shows behavior sets and patterns. Because when the skeptics talk about, well, this can't be real, or it's just a monster it lives in the woods. When you see the patterns of true biological species, that's a really interesting part. Like these animals, they act like just any other animal in the woods. They have very primate behaviors, things like that. So it shows, okay, this isn't just a monster that lives in the woods. This is a living, breathing creature that lives out there.
Yes, it is, and that's what. It's not a monster, and of course, if I were aggressive toward any of them, they would be aggressive toward me. That's what you expect from any animal or creature, is you be gentle and you be kind and you try to show them that you want to coexist.
Yeah. It's like I think I on last week I was talking to Tex on the show, and it's like, yeah, you're not going to poke a bear or try to run at a bison. It's the same principle with these Sasquatch. You're not going to try to mess with them, or you're going to get hurt. It's just another animal out there. And it's not like monstrous or anything like that.
Now, Lanita has found that she's got really long silver hair because she's let her hair go very natural. And she said, wear your hair down because they are attracted to women with long hair. And I said, okay, we'll do that. So I did, as hot as it was that day.
Yeah,
But I still wore it down because I want to be as attractive to them to respond to me as possible. I don't mean in a attraction way, but I mean
yeah,
as a creature, to them I'm a creature too. so
yeah. Like
so
it's
yeah, so wearing my hair down is a specific characteristic that I want to do when I'm out there.
yeah. It's like you're not going to go out there like holding a gun or something because you're just going to scare it away, pretty much. You want
And
to try to bring them towards you.
not stupid either. I carry a big knife in my pocket where nobody can see it. I'm not dumb because there could be some stupid person out there too. And that's what I'm going to tell everybody, that if you're going out in the woods, like somewhere you don't know, don't go on private property without written permission because
Yeah,
someone in Alabama will shoot you if you're on their property, or they could. But don't just go out unprotected either. And do not go out alone. Go out with a partner. Go out with another person, because you do not, if something were to happen to you, then you would have someone to run get help, or something like that. But don't go out unprotected. That's stupid. But don't carry a big gun either. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you don't want to scare the Bigfoot or whatever. But I do carry a big knife with me. I'm not dumb.
Yeah, but like, and that's like one thing that I was surprised by when I went to the conference last year is that I was surprised by just how wild Alabama is. I always knew it was rural and had a lot of woods in it, but driving up to Oxford, where the conference was, seeing the pretty much the foothills of the Appalachians, like,
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah,
I live there's plenty of lakes and mountains. So if you come to the conference, which I hope y'all do, um, come and bring your fishing pole. Come and make a couple of days of it, just fishing and camping out, or just enjoying the land, because it is beautiful up there. Like I said, we are part of the Talladega National Forest, and the kind of the beginning of the Appalachian Mountain chain. And so we've got a lot to give. And um, this is a big, squatchy area.
yeah. Like I can't even count how many people I talked to there that said, "Yeah, I saw something on Mount Keyhall. I saw something here. I saw." Most people there had, if they had a sighting, it was less than 5 miles away from Oxford.
Yeah, Mount Cheaha is about it's Cheaha, and
Hmm.
it is about 5 miles from Oxford. You can get there in no time at all, and it's it's got good camping. It's got wilderness camping. It's got other camping. You can get a chalet up there. You can get I'm not promoting the park, but it is a nice park. And there's this great big statue encased in a little room at the top of the mountain that has a big statue of Bigfoot. So they believe. I mean, they believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah, and it makes you think like, okay, if they know these creatures are out here, of course people are having sightings because that is like the highest elevation in Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, a lot of people believe these creatures live in high elevations. Like look at the Appalachian Mountains, Rocky Mountains, huge Sasquatch sightings over there, and
Right.
especially with the Appalachians, a lot of people believe they might use the Appalachians as like a migratory route for the East Coast.
And who knows that some of these that I've seen have not been up in Virginia, or some, I don't know how far they travel. I guess we don't know enough about them yet to know that, but I'll know if they're on this property because they let us know that they're there when that day they let us know, which I was very surprised that um they just actually let us know um so quickly that they were there.
Yeah, but especially on your first time out there, like usually you have to, like with any animal, you have to get yourself habituated to them. You have to go out there maybe a week or even months for there to be activity. But especially for it to be happening on the first day, that kind of shows either they are very habituated to people, or maybe they just are so well. They know people are out there, and they feel so confident. Like, okay, let me just mess with people sometimes. Because like there's things I bring up, like when they throw stones or things like that. Maybe it's not violent, but maybe they just might just be messing with you. It's like when someone pulls someone else's leg, maybe just doing the same thing, like with throwing little stones and pebbles at people.
Well, they didn't throw any stones at us, and that was what was curious. They just rolled two pebbles down the hill in front of us, and that was to let us know that we were okay because they didn't throw them at us. They
Yeah.
didn't harm us. And Lanita has been out there before many times. We left popcorn. The little ones, she said, like popcorn. All of them do, but especially the little ones. And she's left toys out there, stuffed toys and things out there for them, which come up missing.
Oh,
And um, she has left. We left apples and carrots just that Friday, and we're going to see what kind of foods they like. Of course, there'll always be raw nuts and raw vegetables and things like that, but and
Yeah,
fruits and things. But I'm curious as to other foods too that they might like. So we're going to see. She's
yeah,
left. She's left stones shaped in a heart and a pattern before on a log, and come back and it's been changed.
hmm,
So I mean, she said they're very attentive to her, and so I'm curious, and because I was with her and they know her is the
yeah,
reason they were receptive to me. If I did something stupid and something loud and something aggressive, they probably would not like me there anymore. But
yes.
I'm not a real aggressive, violent type person. So,
No,
uh,
of course, you are not. You're
and I
very
that I
welcoming.
yeah, I think they sense that about people. It's like any instinct in an animal. You want to see uh, if something is aggressive, you stay around it just a little bit, and you'll know instinctively that it will hurt you or won't. You know,
Yes. And what you talking about before were like the stones and toys, like the gifting phenomenon people talk about. Like it,
right?
when people don't just leave out food, because of course anything you can get eat the food, but when you leave out like a toy or a rock, a bear is not going to pick up a toy, or a deer is not going to move a
Mm,
rock. So it shows you, okay, there's something going on here. Like it
yeah,
kind of shows like, okay, something with hands picked that up, and it's just very interesting because it really shows you like the intelligence of these creatures. Because
I think they are.
yeah,
I think they're very intelligent. I think they're intelligent to have very high instincts, even if they cannot think like us. At least they have very high instincts. Now, I've had um, a researcher that I respect very much tell me that, oh no, they're not that smart and blah 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 and all that. Well, that's fine. That and I respect that opinion from that person because I respect that person. I just feel like they're very highly instinctual, if
yeah,
that's a word.
yes, like they might like almost because they like in most beings they run on an instinct, and these instincts could be just so strong. Like okay, stay away from people if you need to. Maybe always be observant. Like I always tell people when they go out and do these investigations, they're watching you way before you even know they're there because they know their environment. It's like if someone comes in your house, you're going to notice someone in your house because that's where you live. That's what you're used to. If you have like a bunch of things on a shelf and someone moves something, you might notice even though it's so little, you're going to notice that difference
I
because
I picked up a I was not going to pick it up, but I saw a rock on the way out, and she said she's found arrowheads and things like that before. I saw a rock on the way in when we were going to our destination inside the property, and it looked like a tool that maybe a Native American had created, or someone had created, that looked like it was a triangle, and the rock looked like it had been chipped away on both sides to make a point, so that it could be used as a tool. And I showed it to her on the way out. I said, "Let me show you this thing I saw on the way in." And she said, "Don't pick it up. Don't pick it up." I said, she said, "Ask permission to pick it up." And I said, "Ooh," I said, "I wasn't going to, but thank you for reminding me that." She said, "This is their home."
yeah, like when you go out there, you do have to respect that. Like even if let's just say these are just creatures and animals, like you still need to respect where they are. Just respect the woods in general when you're
Right.
out there in the wilderness, and especially if you have Sasquatch in the area, because you might not want to disrespect them. Like that would maybe be wouldn't be the best idea, because then you wouldn't have any reactions. You wouldn't have like any interaction with them, they might be like, no, you disrespected us, we're gonna not interact with you, and that's what you don't want.
That's true. And you know, I'm I'm not what you call a. I mean, I think. Well, let me put it this way. I'm not overboard when it comes to um, a naturalist or anything like that. But I do know this. I know that Bigfoot researchers, most of them I have met, are some of the most environmentally conscious people there are. They
Yeah,
leave the land like they found it. And uh, farmers do that. I mean, farmers do their thing and they leave the land and they replenish it. And I think Bigfoot research is the one. A lot of them that I know are just very much that way too, and we have to do that. Um, I want to preserve the forest that we have now because I want these creatures to have a home. I don't want that to be destroyed, and I don't want to be the first one to go picking up a bunch of stuff out of there and taking it out or cutting a bunch of stuff down. And I want to reserve that or preserve that and respect it.
yeah, but that's like one thing I bring up, especially with like Bigfoot and cryptids and this naturalism in general, is that it's very important to preserve wilderness and wild spaces for future generations. And let's just say Sasquatch was to ever be discovered one day. That's just another really good reason to protect our wilderness areas, because then that shows you there's a very human-like being out there that persists in these wilderness and needs it to survive. Like how a lot of people need cities to survive. Like I know plenty of people, if they didn't have air conditioning, they wouldn't be able to live. So like with these Sasquatch wilderness, that's what they need to survive. And it kind of shows you we need to preserve wilderness areas, and not just for things like maybe a Sasquatch and cryptids, but of course our known species.
Mhm.
Uh, there's plenty of species out there, especially here in North America, that are on the endangered species list simply because we've taken their environment or we've just killed them. And like one thing I especially bring up with what you're talking about earlier with the naturalism is look how the Sasquatch have supposedly interacted in the past. Native Americans, they act. It was almost like they were another tribe. There was a lot more interactions with Sasquatch. And one thing I bring up is well, because the Native Americans live off the land, they don't destroy the land. But once settlers came in, they cut down trees, they make farmland, and creatures like Sasquatch get pushed out, so there's not as much interaction. And it kind of shows you these creatures are a lot more intelligent than what we give them. And kind of on that note, I want to ask you, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but like with Sasquatch, do you have an idea of like, are you more into ape camp, human camp, or just have you not really decided?
Well,
So,
I have decided I think they're more intelligent than the average ape. I really do. I'm just like I said, I think they have higher instincts than the average ape, even though, look at all the studies that have done with chimpanzees. They are so human-like quality. Um, I don't know. I don't know whether it's animal or ape-like human or what it could be. I'm still not there yet. But I'm trying to learn to find out. So, but like I said, I think it's more of a right now in my mind, it's more of a higher instinctual ape-like creature, animal.
yeah. And
I
I guess,
I do not believe in the UFO thing where, they're UFO, they're creatures from beyond the stars and that type of thing. I don't believe in that.
yeah. And I'm with you with that. Like I don't really believe in the more paranormal or UFO aspect of Sasquatch because for me, it's all about the evidence. The evidence shows a biological species. Rather if it's a human or ape, no, not sure. But there's no evidence for it coming out of a UFO or anything like that.
And not that I disrespect that theory.
Oh, of
It
course.
is a theory, and anything I've got's a theory too. And so, I respect, and I'm not putting that down. And anybody that believes that, I respect you, and I'm not going to put you down for that. I just, we all got to go our own way and think what we think and have our own theory about this.
Yeah. Like one thing I always say is until Sasquatch is discovered, all we have are really beliefs and hypotheses.
Hmm.
So we all have difference in beliefs and difference in what we believe these creatures are. Because right now we don't know for sure. There's no experts in this field, of course. So like when there's a difference in opinion, I don't believe we should put each other down for difference in opinion. We should see and grow upon it. Like, okay, me and you might disagree on what we think it is. Let's see if we can find some common ground. Or let me
Right,
see
right.
who believe that, and let me see tell you why I believe that.
That's why we need to stand together, because there are so many people who say this is not real, and there are so many people who are doubters, who are trying to prove us wrong, and who are acting like idiots and putting stupid stuff online. Um, and like this new whatever this is, that's someone pointed out, this guy wants to go and kill a Bigfoot, and that's what the whole show is going to be about, trying to kill a Bigfoot. And I'm thinking, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe that's the only way we can study it, a Bigfoot, thoroughly. But why do you want to do that? I mean, this is a beautiful creature. I mean, a beautiful, absolutely wonderful creature. I just don't see it, but I guess for 15 minutes of fame, I guess that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people are. Because, like, I remember, I believe Cliff said this at the conference. It's not my job to prove these creatures exist, because proving, in a scientific sense, is having a body. And I don't want to kill one of these creatures. And the likelihood of finding a body is it's very not plausible. Because unless one gets hit by an 18 wheeler one day, in which that in and of itself is a tragedy. So, like with myself, I'm not here to prove these creatures. I'm here to just research.
Right.
Let's see what evidence we can collect, and if we were to find evidence that proves a creature exists, that is great. Because then we can take the next step. Okay, we know these creatures exist. What can we do to protect them? To make sure they're not a extinct species within 30 years, like a lot of species on this earth are going to be.
Right. There's very little land now that they can get to, and have a habitation, and we want to preserve whatever land we have left in the way of woods, and that is not inhabited by people, and people are not building and trying to build cities on, that we can have them a place they can live away from us. They don't want to they don't want to live with us any more than most people don't want to live with them. And
Yeah.
but with all the cities moving into the woods, and the communities and suburbs moving into the woods, then that's what's happening. We're taking their space.
Yeah. Like I know, so it seems like almost every other month you have a news story from like California or Oregon. Person gets attacked by a mountain lion, or person's dog gets attacked by a mountain lion. It's like, of course, because you're
Sure.
going into their environment. They're not coming into your space. You're going into theirs. And I think it's kind of amazing how surprised people are when they realize how much wilderness is still here in North America. Like, if you drive around, of course, in a big city, you don't realize how much woods are really out there. And even like with Sasquatch, a lot of sightings occur closer to cities because we're growing more and more. And there's a lot of wilderness still out there, but it's not connected. That's the issue. It's like pockets of wilderness, but with Sasquatch especially, I believe they need a large area to survive in, so they don't have those natural corridors to move around and
Hmm.
migrate or do whatever they need to.
Yep, yep, that's it. I would love, like I said, to go to the original area, to California, and up in the wilderness areas and Washington State and all that. Someday, maybe that'll happen. Maybe I'll get to. But until then, I'll stick with my own state, which has Bigfoot in it.
And it's honestly in Alabama is not one of those states you think of Bigfoot when you think like when you think like Sasquatch, you don't really think of like Alabama, really. Like when you think of the South, you might think maybe Florida. There's like skunk ape, of course.
Yeah,
But everyone thinks Pacific Northwest. People don't realize how squatchy the South is. There's a long history of Sasquatch sightings here in the
it
South.
is. It is. Well, you think about from Texas, Jefferson, Texas, all the way over to where I am, and even in Georgia. Georgia's got a lot of squatchy stuff in Tennessee. I mean, the South is full of squatches.
Like I remember on my drive from here in San Antonio, Texas, which is like Central Texas, all the way to Oxford, it was mostly woods. Honestly, it was mostly wilderness, and not a lot of like big cities.
Yep, it is. It is, and we don't have a lot of major cities. We have a lot of communities, and there's still a lot of small communities. Um, in small little towns and stuff. And the towns are still kind of rustic. A lot of these towns are that I used to go to when communities and towns where when I was doing my nursing in the rural areas.
Yes, and man, I know with it too. Like I know, of course, Sasquatch is always the big cryptid unknown species out there that's always talked about. But with it, have you ever come across any other type of cryptid sightings or anything in your neck of the woods? Because I know a lot of times people talk about Bigfoot and they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw this, I saw this," or is there any other cryptids out there that might interest you out in this big wild world
Uh,
of cryptids?
I'm interested in. I heard Tex talking about Dog Man, and I'm just fascinated with that. But I mean, I like wolf-like creatures, and I, I grew up. Now I had an older brother. He's 3 years older than me. He's passed away since then. But I had an older brother, and if we didn't watch sci-fi or Gunsmoke from Dead, then we didn't watch anything on our little black and white. And it was always sci-fi with him and Gunsmoke with my dad. So I
Mm,
mean, I grew up with sci-fi. I mean, my favorite movies are Creature from the Black Lagoon and The 50-Foot Woman, things like that. But um, I think that there might be such a thing as wolf-like creatures called dogman. I don't know. I'm looking at Mothman and Dogman and other creatures, and there's got to be more species we have not discovered. But I know Bigfoot is real.
yeah,
Uh, Whether there may be other creatures too. Dogman. He said he saw one, and I believe Tex.
yeah. And like I know, like especially like I know, like at the conference last time you had Ken Gerhardt, and he's done a lot of research into like all
Hmm.
types of different creatures and like all types of cryptids. I know Tex has done the same thing. He's done a lot of research into not just Bigfoot but other creatures.
Oh.
You're good. Don't worry, technical difficulties. But if I didn't need technology, I would just go without it.
Well, I didn't grow up in technology, so I'm learning as I go, and yes, she can be taught.
Because I know, like I know there's some technical difficulties at the conference last time, but a little bit. But good thing there's always people there. Like, hey, if you don't know something, hey, do you know how to do this or something like that?
Well,
'Cause
I've got to find somebody to do that this year. I'm gonna. I thought I had somebody to do it, and they kind of welched out on me the last minute, and I need to go do this, and blah, blah, blah. So next year I've got to have somebody that is good at the sound and the slides and the things like that, and can just be there and just run the thing all day.
yeah,
And I appreciated Paul Hulsey and James Hudson for they were our local researchers and they knew what they were doing. So
yeah,
it did help me, and we got through it, and I was so thankful. And I kind of like fell out when it was finally over because it was a lot of work and I was so
yeah.
tired.
I,
Man, I love.
I remember seeing you after the conference. I could see like, because you worked on this for months and months. Like, and I could tell you were stressed out by it. It was a great experience, but putting
Well, it
together
wasn't as stressful as it was. Well, it was stressful, but I just wanted it to go well. I wanted people to
yeah,
enjoy it. I wanted people to get what they needed out of it. I wanted my vendors to do well because I love my vendors, and I wanted them to do well too. So and I wanted my speakers to be happy. I was gonna, I was gonna make my guests real happy.
Yeah, and it was a great event. And I'm looking forward to doing it next year because I
Mhm.
know it's only going to grow from here. Because think how many people like you talk to, and even I talked to afterwards. Like, hey, like a lot of people said, I want to come next year. I want, and it really got people into the subject.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year. I learned a lot of what not to do. Tex talked about doing something over on his end, over on that side of Texas, and um, he he's he said, "Well, I might get you out here to help me to try to plan and everything." I said, "Well, I can tell you what not to do for sure. I can tell you some things that you need to do because there are things that I should have done that I didn't, and everything. And yes, I needed that glass of wine that last afterward, but and two, I had never planned people's flights, and I planned three
Yeah,
flights, and it was just that was so different. And then I had to go around try to get some sponsors, which I didn't get many this time, but I did go around solicit door prizes
yeah,
and and had to get the hotel lined up and for everybody. And I just stayed up there with them in case something happened because I didn't want to like wanted them to get sick or something and me not be there. I am a nurse. I could kind of at
yeah.
least what to do, but this year we're gonna start earlier. I've already started. See, when I had someone that had said, "Oh," and they've put on conferences before, and they're well known, and I won't mention who they are, but said, "Oh, I want," called me and said, "I want to help you plan your conference." And in December, they kind of, I don't know what happened, but I never heard from them, and so I said, "This thing's got to go, got to get on the road." So I hired Charlie Raymond. In fact, he's great with graphics and things like that, and websites and setting up web design and things online. So Charlie Raymond is a good one to do that if you need it. And I paid him to do that. And then outside of that, I started working on getting people's commitment to speak. And after that, it was 6 months, and I I did all that in 6 months, basically seven
Yeah.
months. So because I didn't wait for that person was not going to commit. I mean, going to fulfill that commitment. And so I just went ahead and started working hard on it because uh, I didn't want to get behind and not get it finished. And still, there were things I wish I had done, but I was pleased, and I'm letting it go and learning from what I messed up on, and learning from other things. So
Yeah.
we're happy with it, and I'm ready to, and I'm fixing to. And I learned from the vendors that were there. I learned to how to present products and things like that. So if I ever go to speak at a conference or something, I know how to present my products at the vendor table, and I know how to get my stuff ready to sell when I get ready to be a vendor. So uh, thanks to you guys.
Yeah, that's like one thing too. Like when I first, the first ever time I vendored, it was at Jefferson last year, and I learned from the first time, and then I went to Nola, Texas, another conference. And I learned from there, and I learned from Alabama. It's just you learn from every little experience you get, and
Yeah.
especially with it being your first conference. Of course, it's not gonna go off without a hitch because it's always the first one. But you learn from those mistakes, and you learn from like, okay, I can change this, I can change this, and then the second one's better, then the third one's even better, fourth one's even better, and just
I,
you grow from there.
well, I was surprised when I got to Gatlinburg. I'd tell someone, "Hello, I'm Anita Collier. I'm the administrator of the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. We had our first one in June, this past June." And they say, "Oh, wait a minute, we heard about you." And I said, "Oh, that made me feel good." And then I saw someone walking around with my T-shirt on with the conference T-shirt on, and I said, oh, "You got my T-shirt on. You were at my conference." And he said, "I sure was, and I'll be at the next one." And so I said that made me feel good. I said that's my baby.
Yeah.
My conference is my baby. So it was fun, and I right now, I feel like it was a very big success. We had about 200 people there.
Oh wow.
So, in all counting and everything. And like I said, we'll know better about some things next time. And um, I'm looking forward.
And I'm really looking forward to be there this next year and be a vendor. And if you ever need any help with anything, just let me know, Anita. Like, and
Thanks, me.
for sure, of course, beforehand, before it's scheduled and I go, I'll of course promote it here on the channel, and I'll have you back on and talk about it. Like, hey,
Thank you.
this is it, and we can always promote it here on the channel.
Okay, thank you so much. And you guys be sure and come in June.
Yeah, and I think you said what? It's around probably June 9th or 10th,
9th
or
and 10th, I believe, is the weekend. It's whatever that weekend is. I think it's the 9th and 10th. And it will be right now. The all information is on, but it'll be BamaBigfootConference.com.
perfect. And I'll make sure once you get the website and all that for next year, I'll put that in the description and all that, and make sure I promote it. And I know it is getting a little bit later, so go real quick before we head off. Like, if people want to get a hold of you, or especially if you want to sponsor this conference, how should they get a hold of you, Anita?
You can reach me on Messenger, Anita Collier, and you'll see someone at the conference said, "Oh, I recognized you by your flaming red hair." And I said, "Well, you can recognize me in my picture, my flaming red hair on on Messenger, Anita Collier, and I'm on Facebook."
Yeah. Uh, Anyone at home or watching this, if you want to participate in this conference, I'd say it's always a good thing to do. Like, even if it's your first conference, go to it. There's always like-minded individuals. You get to meet great people like Anita there. If you are a business or anything, you want to sponsor it, do it. Like,
Definitely.
it really helps out the community, helps us out, helps her out. So if you guys are interested, go uh, follow her on Facebook, go message her on Messenger, because she really needs support, guys. So with that, I will be ending this. So good night, everyone. Thanks for everyone that showed up tonight and watched this. Go help support Anita. Go subscribe to the channel. Go wait for the Alabama Bigfoot Conference until next year. I know it's August and it's in June, but that's a small time to anticipate people. So go support her, subscribe, comment on the comment, like, all that. So good night, everyone. And